What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cover 4 Podcast, Week 16 edition. Only 3 weeks left. We're in the home stretch. My name is Colton, as always, joined by Cody, Nate, and Zach. A big week ahead. We have a good show for you today. We'll recap Week 15. We'll do rapid 5 questions, some good ones, talking about seeding, playoffs, whatnot. And then a huge game this week between Zach's Vikings and my Seahawks. It's going to be a fun one. We'll get to that in a little bit. But let's start with a look at last week and how we did. Nate had the worst week, 5-11. I kind of struggled. I was very mid 8-8, and then Zach and Cody got over 500 at 9-7. But once again, Zach, Nate, and Cody won their locks, and I dropped mine. The Packers, Rams, and Bills all cashed for the boys, and the Panthers got killed. So that was a rough one. Cover 4 podcast standings. Nate Dogg, only a 6-game lead now overall on the season. I am still up 6 in the all-time standings. Let's get into Week 15. It was a good week. We got to start with that Bills-Lions game. Josh Allen absolutely cooked. Cody made it his lock, so I'm going to turn to you, Cody. It was a dominant performance out of the Bills. The Bills are red hot. Are they the best team in the league? How are you feeling about the Bills?
They just impress me every week. Josh Allen looks so much better, especially now that Diggs is gone. It just looks like he's playing such a more free game, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I'm able to watch it. So he's doing great. My Dynasty League looks great because Josh Allen has been cooking. I think he's got 41 and then 54 the week before or something.
Yeah, literally carrying
90 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So whoever has Josh Allen in your fantasy league, if you made the playoffs, you're probably still in. So
he does it all on his own. Amari Cooper, no points.
He put the cape on.
What was the best receiver in that game?
Shakir had 15 fantasy points.
Yeah. I think Coleman had that one catch.
It wasn't Amari Cooper.
He had that one catch,
for 60 yards, but that was
right.
it.
And the Lions, more injuries. Carlton Davis, David Montgomery.
We kind of see what Dan Campbell does in big games.
Onside kick in the third or fourth
quarter.
That was
10
brutal.
minutes left.
That was brutal. I know the defense wasn't stopping anything, but
I think the message around the league has just been his confidence, and I think that's just going right to his head.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what stands in front of the Lions. Obviously, injury is the biggest thing, but Dan Campbell decision-making. Again,
he's been good, though. It happens.
A couple of big...
It was a big game. It was a big spot.
The fourth down at their own 30 or whatever against the Packers, then they went for it when they could have kicked a field goal. I know it worked, but that was really sketchy. I think in the playoffs, January football, that might come back to... I just think that is in their way of winning.
It bit his ass in the NFC Championship last year.
We literally have seen this story.
There's a world that they could have been Super Bowl champions if those certain calls against the Niners.
Right.
Take the points, man.
Another big game, another high-touted game for Week 15 was the Eagles taking on the Steelers. That game really didn't deliver in terms of anything crazy. The Eagles went on a 10-minute drive to end the game. They just marched down the field, run the ball.
Steelers had 2 drives in the second half.
Unbelievable time of possession for the Eagles. Nate, Steelers fan, a rough one, but are you phased or are you just moving on?
Moving on.
Yeah.
I mean, the streak is what it is in Philly. We haven't won there since 1965.
Yeah, the Eagles kind of own you.
In Philly, but in Pittsburgh, it's kind of the same.
Or in general.
Pretty sure the Eagles own everybody, unfortunately. They're just running through everybody.
A.J. Brown owns the Eagles. The Steelers.
The last 2 times we faced him, he's had a very impressive game.
A couple big injuries. Also, Patrick Mahomes obviously suffering the high ankle sprain, although he's
probably going to play.
He is going to play.
He's active.
The Lions.
Hollywood Brown, too.
Definitely fine?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so they got some reinforcements, and the line obviously reflects that. It opened up at 2.5, plus 2.5 Chiefs, and now it's minus 3.5 Chiefs.
Yeah.
Obviously, the gigantic swing. We'll talk that game in a little bit. That's a Saturday game. We have 2 Saturday games this week: Texans-Chiefs and
just
Nate's
another
Steelers.
Xavier Worthy kind of.
Yeah,
Hollywood Brown.
Except he's a phenomenal route runner.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
And then we got to talk. Bengals not dead yet, Cody. Your second favorite team potentially, Bengals.
I love the Bengals.
They're 6-8. They have a path. They would need the Broncos or Chargers to lose out, or not even. The Chargers don't need to lose out.
They need to drop 2.
But the Chargers have a really easy schedule after tonight's game. We're actually filming this on Thursday. We have the game up right now. Broncos Chargers. The score is
7-7.
7-7. Broncos Chargers.
Shimmy shake.
Estime and Edwards finding the end zone early. We have that game going, so we're a little late in the week. But the Bengals do have a path, and it revolves around those 2 teams. Broncos Chargers. They need one of them to start stumbling. And the Bengals win out, and we could be looking at
and they're gonna be
Bengals
in the Super Bowl.
If they
make it to the playoffs,
what a story
what are the
that would
chances
be.
they're in the Super Bowl?
So
nobody wants to see the Bengals. Nobody in the playoffs.
We also got to bring up the Packers did beat the Seahawks. I was decently confident. Geno Smith obviously got hurt. Zach made the Packers his lock. It was a rough game. Sam Howell came in relief, was one of the worst quarterback performances I've ever witnessed. I think it's more props to Geno because Geno has made this offensive line look sustainable at least all year. They're 8-6. Sam Howell, I really thought. I know Nate, you've said that Sam Howell, could be decent.
Yeah,
awful. I at least thought because Sam Howell's track record of throwing, he was kind of like a Jameis.
He's coming in and play the Packers in the winter. Like what? Like what is he gonna do?
Right, but you got to.
What was Geno doing when he was in the game? He didn't do anything.
If Geno stays healthy in that game's gonna be close. Late.
They win by 10. They lose by 10.
I think it's a 3-point game.
At least Howell put together a touchdown drive while he was in the game.
Sam Howell, he has like the Jameis Winston prototype where I thought he throws a lot of touchdowns, he throws a lot of picks, but he did nothing. He couldn't push the ball down the field. He was getting sacked immediately. It was just a brutal all-around performance. It was the ugliest game of the year for the Seahawks outside maybe the Bills game that they played
maybe
earlier.
The Giants game too.
Yeah, no,
Giants
that's a good point. You brought that up.
I can't escape this Giants game.
I mean, you're talking about ugly games.
How can you it's the Giants, bro.
Yeah,
you'd be saying the same thing about like any other team. You just you're very biased, but that's fine.
That's fine.
Just like your Seahawks fans on the show.
Yeah.
Shout out my Seahawks fans out there.
They're in for a rude awakening, unfortunately.
So the Packers are a great team. I think this speaks a lot just how great the Packers are. They're one of the best teams in the NFC. This is a very good team. I'm not gonna.
I mean, yeah, it's a very good team, and at the end of the day, it's like this division it's the best in football this year,
no
by
doubt,
far.
No doubt.
This team, I would say they're a little better than the Vikings, like as a team.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings can beat them head to head, but I'd say they're a little better. Green Bay, I would say. But I knew this wasn't going to be a competition. Like we all knew that. This team is way better than the Seahawks.
It sucks. I've seen this story time and time again. I texted Cody this, I think, and I said, if Geno stays healthy, I know he didn't do a lot in the first half, but that's been a track record this year for the Seahawks. He's been amazing in the second half. The defense got going in the second half and got them in that game. If Sam Howell could do anything, they likely tighten that game up. It's not like an insane comment. It's just what we're witnessing. What we've seen week after week.
I just think if that game was played 10 times, the average loss would be more than a touchdown.
I disagree, but it's a what if that doesn't matter because they lost 30-13.
You're bringing up what ifs. You love doing that.
Listen, it's over. Hey, they lost to the Packers. Good for the Packers. The Packers are a great team. Jordan Love's amazing.
Move on to the Vikings.
We'll talk about Broncos, Vikings, Bucks. I jotted down as teams that all got solid victories, improving their playoff pushes. The Rams beat the Niners, so the Rams now technically have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks. They're both 8-6, but the Rams won in Seattle in overtime earlier in the season in a game that really cost the Seahawks. Could cost the Seahawks down the stretch because Seahawks really blew that opportunity. So the Rams have the Jets, Cardinals, and Seahawks left, and the Seahawks have the Vikings, Bears, and Rams left. So it could very well likely come down to Week 18, Rams, Seahawks for the division. So that could be exciting. Same thing with the Vikings. Could come down to the Vikings, Lions, Week 18 as well. But we'll get to that. Ravens and Steelers also have a very good battle for the division as well. So some divisional races to look out for. AFC North, NFC West, NFC North, all getting tight. And the not as fun, but NFC South with the Bucks and Falcons. Obviously, Michael Penix named starter for this week. We'll talk that as well. So
a little too late.
Probably too little.
We brought this up 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, if you go back, it was buy or sell.
And I said, I'm pretty sure I said Kirk should still be in.
Yeah, because you're a big Kirk
I just
guy.
love Kirk.
Yeah,
how can you?
But I think Penix gonna give him a spark. But all right, let's rapid fire questions of the week. We've been doing buy or sell. That's why you see the check and X here. We changed it this week. We have 5 questions to go through. We're going to start with who gets the number 1 seed in the NFC. Kind of alluded to it. The Lions, Eagles, and Vikings are all 12-2. The Lions have the inside track. Obviously, they currently hold the spot after beating the Vikings earlier in the year, but they do play the Vikings again. So, Cody, if you had to put your money down right now, who gets the number 1 seed, the Lions, the Eagles, or the Vikings?
I'd say the Eagles. They look like the most complete team, in my opinion, offensively and defensively. They have 2 wide receiver ones for the most part, and then I'm assuming Goddard will be back week 17 or 18. I know he's on the injured reserve. That kind of sucks, but he'll be there for the playoffs. Calcaterra's not bad, and of course they have Saquon Barkley, the number 1 running back.
Who Nate Dogg benches in the fantasy playoffs.
Saquon.
Is that true?
Ooh, damn. I did it. I own it.
It was
sharp. Didn't matter.
You still won, you mean?
No,
you lost?
I still lost.
Wait, who did you start over him?
Started
Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, Tyrone Tracy.
You shouldn't have showed me that, bro.
Now the
I
world
don't know
knows.
how that's clause.
Can't do it.
Outthink
Oh,
yourself
dude,
here.
they played the Steelers. What am I saying?
That's why you
That's
did
why
it.
you
Yeah,
did that,
yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Oh.
He was on the show saying Saquon was going to get 50 yards.
Yeah. I mean, he did, didn't he? Didn't he get like 50?
I kind of predicted the game was going to
That's
have.
true.
We didn't win, but.
All right,
Oh
fair.
yeah, that's why.
I mean, I wish I had the schedules in front of me.
I mean, I'm looking at the Eagles. I think that's all you need to see. That's a cakewalk.
It is.
Like,
It
that's a
really is.
cakewalk.
Lions play
I mean,
the
Lions
Bears,
and
Niners,
play each other.
Vikings.
It's just like, and then I'm pretty sure the Vikings play the Packers and the Lions twice.
The Lions have 2 games that they could lose.
Niners?
Yeah.
With their defense hobbled like that?
I was gonna say the Lions, but after seeing the Eagles' schedule, I'm going with Philly.
Yeah, I'm going with
sure.
just for
Two Phillies?
scheduling purposes. I'm on the Eagles too. I think the Lions could win it, but I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure who the Lions play in the last 3. I know they play the
49ers
Vikings.
and they play Bears.
Vikings
And I'm pretty sure Vikings play the Packers and Lions, so that's tough.
Vikings have the hardest.
Yeah.
path.
But
sure.
yeah, the Eagles should be 3-0.
I will make it 4 Eagles, I guess. I'll say Lions. I'll say Lions just to have some diversity here. I think the Lions are going to rally past their injuries, and I think that game in Week 18 is going to be fun. I think Lions Vikings in Minnesota.
Should be
I
good.
think.
I believe so. Yeah,
That'll be fun.
That'll be a good game.
All right, next up, which team going forward has the worst future? I thought this was an interesting question because we saw. I can start with this one. I
feel like I know what you're gonna say.
No, I'm gonna.
Can I say it first?
Yeah.
The Niners.
No, I'm not that drastic. I'm actually gonna still say, despite some good talent, I was gonna say Jaguars, but I'm still gonna say Giants because I still don't think their personnel is that great.
They got Malik Neighbors.
They have Malik Neighbors, which is great, and they could get obviously Shedeur Sanders. But I don't think Shedeur Sanders wants to play there. There's a lot of rumors about him wanting to play for Vegas.
Malik Neighbors also talked like mad about not getting the ball, and then he dropped like 6 passes. He's good, but like
it's like the Debo.
He was playing catch with Shedeur this weekend in New York.
I saw that.
I don't know. I'm gonna say the Giants just because I don't know what they're doing coaching wise. I'm assuming they move on from Dable. I mean, it seems like he's completely lost the locker room. They don't have any quarterback, obviously, on the roster that can. I like Drew Lock, but in terms of moving forward, obviously they ship away Daniel Jones. They don't. Tyron Tracy looks good. I guess you could say that. The offensive line is not very good. Defense is okay, but I just don't know what they're building. You know what I mean? Like the Panthers, for example, we can sit here and argue that they're building something. Even the Raiders.
I disagree completely.
Really?
With the Panthers. Well, their first round pick just tore his ACL again.
Fair, but you don't think they have a better roster right now than the Giants?
No. I think the Giants have a decent foundation when it comes to defense. Unfortunately, they've been riddled with injuries this year, which sucks. Like I know Thibodeau's been in and out, but I mean, when they're a healthy team and they're going to draft a quarterback next year, so I think that could be the difference. Obviously, they didn't think Daniel Jones was worth it. They need a better offensive line for sure. Honestly, but I think the Panthers are going in the wrong direction, in my opinion.
Another team, Jaguars. I mean, Trevor Lawrence isn't.
Yeah,
really,
Brian Thomas is probably the best rookie wide receiver, though.
True.
Yeah. So
but their defense is horrible.
Yeah,
it's dead last.
See, they have pieces though. Like they have Trevon Walker still. Like they can build around.
And he's
him.
a quiet number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's bad or anything, but
he gets to the quarterback though. He rushes the quarterback.
I would say the Raiders have a decent future just because I think their defense is very underrated.
Yeah.
I think they got to move on from Pierce. Yeah. I would argue. I think they got to get a different coach in there.
I think having Tom Brady as the owner, he's gonna start putting his foot down and make some decisions.
Moves.
Yeah, I think that's where Shedeur is gonna go.
That's the difference over there?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think he's going to make some decisions. Yeah, I mean, he just got in this year, but I think they're going to give him more influence as the year goes.
You know, another decent answer to this?
I have a good one.
Is it the Saints?
Yes.
I was just thinking.
Just to be different from what you guys think.
Cap space, an aging roster, no court.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I think they're in a bad spot.
They just signed Kamara to a big deal.
They have Cameron Jordan's old, Alvin Kamara's old.
Derek Carr's always hurt.
Derek Carr's always hurt. Rattler hasn't really looked like a future.
Olave's they have no number 2 receiver. They have like.
What about MVS, bro? 30-year-old MVS, bro.
They have no coach right now. They have a terrible salary cap situation too. So actually, I like the Saints as a sneaky good answer. Zach, do you have any other ones?
I'm gonna say the Niners. I feel like they're in a little bit of trouble.
Is Debo Samuel gonna get cut?
I mean, he hasn't been good. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of questions.
Him a lot of money.
It's just a team that was so high up, and at this point, it looks dead with CMC.
Shout out Shachi.
How old is CMC? I don't know.
He's turning 30.
He's turning 30.
Kittle's turning 31.
He doesn't have a lot. Like they're gonna lose all their star players.
Debo Samuel hasn't had 25 scrimmage yards since like week 11.
So. Debo's like 27, but he's like.
But he's probably had like 25 tweets.
Yeah, he's screwed.
They genuinely like I listen to stuff on YouTube, like people genuinely think that they're gonna cut him because what's the point of paying the guy $20 million when he's trash?
And he was like he's been cancerous for them.
Yeah.
He's had like
he's throwing
diva issues.
His fingers in the kicker's face.
Remember they don't need that. They don't need 2 catches, 25 yards in that.
No.
True.
And 3 rushes for like -10. Like come on, dude.
You could argue the Browns as well. Obviously, the massive Deshaun contract and
the Browns.
They got Jameis though. So
I still think the Browns like have a very good roster in general though. Besides the quarterback thing, so that's why I didn't say them.
This guy's got a bright future though, on the podcast.
Yeah.
Next up, will the Bears regret taking Caleb Williams? This is a tough one, but we obviously the expectations versus the reality this season. I would argue no. I think Caleb Williams will still be decent, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Caleb Williams, future Bears.
I think it's gonna be good still. I think he has a.
I do as well.
We say that he holds the ball a lot, which is true, but I think next year or in 2 years, I think he'll drop that habit. Keenan Allen's probably gonna leave, but Odunze, DJ Moore, I think they still have a very good roster around them.
Nah, you guys don't think Odunze is good though.
Nah,
I think
he's good. The problem is Caleb. He holds the ball too long. He has the same antics that he was doing when he was at USC, and it was bailing him out because how athletic he is, and it was working.
You can do that in college, but
you can do that in college. But when you go to the NFL, this is a different game. You're playing with men, and I think when him and Rome, because Keenan's on his way out, obviously he's getting old. Maybe DJ Moore will stay, but I think when they get on the same page, they mean business. I'm telling you, they're gonna be nasty.
I mean, Eberflus will be gone, and it depends. I think the coaching is gonna be huge. Obviously, or Eberflus is gone, I should say. Obviously, it depends, with a quarterback getting the right coach. So
we see sparks of it too. We see him going out there and making things happen. It's not a consistent basis. So
Number 4, who is the most dangerous AFC wildcard team? We can let Nate go first because he's gonna say the Steelers. So we'll let him explain.
I ain't gonna lie though. I mean, this is a lot of good teams. And I think the Steelers are very
Are you
very
a big
good
Russ fan
but,
nowadays?
But at the same time though, if Cincinnati gets into the playoffs, it's a very scary sighting. I think it's between the Steelers and the Bengals for me. But
I can literally tell me if you disagree with this. Well, you'll disagree with this, but Cody and Zach, if you power rank these teams, if you're an AFC division winner, the teams you want to see the least to the most. Ready? You want to see the Ravens the least. I would say then the Bengals, then the Broncos, then the Broncos, then the Steelers, then the Chargers.
Ravens.
Wait.
Ravens, Bengals,
Can I say something
Steelers,
about
Chargers, Broncos.
You think Steelers like
second least threatening team on this list? Maybe the Broncos. I'll give the Steelers third. I think they're clear.
I think the Steelers are more dangerous than the Ravens, Chargers, and Broncos. The only one I'm going to argue can be over them is
that's
kind
of crazy, too, because we're talking about a 6-8 team.
I also want to say, why do you put the Ravens first? I'm just curious, because we have a large sample size of Lamar in the postseason.
Last year he made major strides.
He did?
Yeah, he made the AFC Championship game. That's a stride enough, for sure. And it was a 7-point game. Now, did I ever feel like they were going to win that game? No, not really. But it was a big stride.
They haven't really done anything in the playoffs.
I just need to see Lamar do something, man.
I've seen a lot of people say that, but this past year, I'm not saying the AFC Championship game was some crazy accomplishment, but that was a step.
Well, they had the bye.
The argument,
right?
Yes.
And then they beat a rookie in CJ Stroud.
Correct.
Who barely snuck into the playoffs.
And then they battled the Chiefs. 17-10.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not like the
whole... Did they scored one touchdown against the Chiefs?
I think so, yeah. It was 17-10. The whole argument, though, is he can't get past the divisional round even when he has that. He made a little bit of a stride. And now they have Derrick Henry. I think that gives them a very different dynamic in playoff football.
Henry's been pretty brutal the last couple of weeks. I think that'll change.
I think it'll change once we get to the playoffs. And now the defense and the secondary, I think, is the biggest concern and the biggest argument why the Ravens aren't that threatening, because that secondary stinks.
And that's that matters in the playoffs.
But, I don't know. I just think you look at these 5 teams, you're telling me the Ravens aren't, the scariest?
No.
It's definitely a Lamar Jackson cloud. When Cody said that.
I personally think the Bengals are scary.
It's their resume, their playoff resume.
Can say that a 6-8 team is the scariest?
But that doesn't really mean anything.
Who scares me is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's done it. He's been there and done that.
And I guess the records don't matter. If we get into the playoffs, records don't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's you restart the season. Right. It's a new season. At the end of the day, none of these teams, you can name every single one of these teams, none of them want to play the Bengals. Because the Bengals are hot right now at the right time. So I don't think any of these teams want to.
I think we said this week 1. It's they start slow, and then if they're hot,
how about this? Let's ask Nate Dogg a question. In the playoffs, would you rather play Lamar Jackson in the Ravens, or would you rather play Joe Burrow in the Bengals?
Oh, the Ravens.
Yeah.
The Ravens.
Why?
The Ravens.
Why?
Because I don't know. Well, it feels like they own Lamar, and Joe Burrow is one of those guys that can he can pick you apart. It's scary with his weapons.
Yeah, and what has Lamar done in the playoffs?
And Joe Burrow's beating Mahomes, so.
I would say one thing we could agree on is that the Chargers are the least scary.
Yeah.
Out of those.
Maybe the Broncos
maybe
too.
The Broncos.
I feel like the Broncos, Chargers are in that tier, and then I feel like the Ravens are in the middle.
Yeah. And then Steelers and Bengals are the upper tier?
Yeah. Probably. I'd say so.
I love
you
Russell
could sneak
Wilson.
Miami in there too, but they just lost. So.
Miami blows, I think.
Yeah. They're probably in the bottom tier with the Chargers.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give it for me personally, whatever, obviously I'm taking the Steelers, but my reason for officially taking the Steelers is because they have a top 10 scoring offense with a top 5 scoring defense right now. Points allowed right now. So I'm gonna go with that. And the Bengals defense is
I still think I love Russell Wilson, obviously. I still think there's a lack of weapons on the Steelers
No, of
that will
course.
catch up to them.
I mean, if Pickens, I
They've
think
looked bad
Pickens-
without Pickens.
I think Pickens will be back by then, but if Pickens, for some reason, isn't back by then I'm definitely like, more
I'm
worried
surprised
than
he's
that.
not playing this week because I saw
That's a
him
big
working
deal.
out at practice this
I
week.
guess,
He was
I
on the
mean,
ladder.
They have a
and stuff.
playoffs. They
Yeah.
have a.
Yeah, so I don't know.
They clinched the spot, so I guess don't rush him back. But
Yeah.
No, they don't need to. They
They're
want to
saving
save
him for the
us.
offs.
Right.
And last question here. This might be kind of an obvious one, especially considering the injuries, but I still wanted to throw it out there. More likely, if these teams get the 1 seed, more likely to lose early in the playoffs, Chiefs or Lions. I'm assuming you guys are going to say the Lions are more likely to lose early. But
I'm gonna say the Lions just for the reason being the Chiefs are like we talked about this last week. They're getting healthy at the right time. They're getting all these pieces
Right.
back, weapons defensively. They still look great defensively. And Hollywood Brown's gonna open up this field. Maybe Xavier Worthy's gonna have some bigger plays. They still have D-Hop and Kelsey and
Pacheco
hasn't even done
Like
much
this
yet.
offense is. We haven't seen the best of the Chiefs.
Right.
So
No.
Yeah.
they're a scary.
and there's a
team.
3-time Super Bowl champion
Yeah.
team.
And
With
it's
us,
Patrick
3-time Super Bowl
Mahomes under the
and
helm.
Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
Chiefs like want to pick the Chiefs. Dan Campbell, we've seen him what he does. His gambling on 4th down.
Yep.
You never know what's going to come out. You never know if it's going to pay off or backfire. And then Mahomes, he's been there before. Looking at 3P, they have the 13-1, and their offense isn't playing good. But now they have Pacheco 2-3 weeks back, and now they have Hollywood Brown, and again D-Hop.
I saw a meme about Dan Campbell, and I know you guys would like this. Like, this is the type of guy who would go into a Vegas casino and he would get Delta 20 against a 6.
Yeah.
The deal is he's like, oh, he did hit me. He needs to get that 21. He needs to be secure. Make sure it's true. That's the type of guy he is.
I mean, I think
He's a gambler.
the real question here is, have we seen the best of the Lions this year?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
probably down.
That's all you need to
Yeah,
know.
I mean, the injuries.
That's all
Yeah.
you need to know.
No,
And
he's
it's
right,
just
though.
The injuries. I mean,
Yeah.
Absolutely, because they were healthy at one point. They were winning all these games, and they just dropped one, and maybe they can drop another.
The media
the
was
Bills,
all over them. They were all
Yeah.
up. They were winning big games in the middle of the season.
I saw a report today that Montgomery will actually be back in the playoffs. He's actually not done for the year, so they did some more
Hutchinson?
testing. He got another opinion, and he's going to be back.
Somebody
so.
said Hutchinson could play before the Super Bowl now.
Nah.
That's
I thought
insane.
he said he'd get there for it. Didn't he say
I
get
saw
there?
one thing that said NFC Championship. That's insane. He literally snapped his leg in half. All right, next up, marquee 4 games of the week. We'll start Saturday. We'll start with 2 Saturday games. We'll preview both of these. We got Texans at the Chiefs. This is the game we talked about earlier. The line flipped drastically with the Mahomes news. Cody mentioned Hollywood Brown likely to play. The Texans, I'll start here because the Texans have been a team that I have been so disappointed in. I took Miami to beat the Texans last week, and I thought Miami outplayed them for much of the game. Tua just awful throws down the stretch. But regardless, here, I think I'm going to take the Chiefs. The hook is brutal. If we filmed this yesterday, it would have been 3, which would have been a little better. 3.5. You know how the Chiefs don't cover numbers, but I don't think the Texans are that great. I think they're hurling towards a one and done in the playoffs. I will lay the 3.5 on Saturday in Arrowhead with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I feel like this game could be a blowout, honestly. In Arrowhead, late in the year, the Chiefs are kind of heating up. Texans have been kind of middle of the pack so far at this point in the season. So, yeah, I love the Chiefs here. 6.5, alt spread.
Alt spread.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, this game, I don't love saying this. I do think the Texans can sneak out, if they lose maybe a game-winning field goal or something, I don't know. I think
That's
the
why
Texans.
it's the hook now,
It's
man.
the hook.
That's what.
But I don't know. I think the Texans will come to play this game, and Mahomes, obviously, he rolls his ankle every other week. He's the same guy. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
But I feel like his mobility might be a little more limited, and I think Texans can maybe get home with their pass rush. And let's go Texans. I don't even know why I'm picking them, but I'm picking the Texans.
I like the Chiefs in this spot. Like I was saying before, they're getting all these weapons back. I think this is probably up to this point the healthiest this team has been all of 2024. So I think in this spot they can definitely get it done and get the cover for sure.
And the Ravens, a team that I back so often, laying 6.5 against the Steelers. Earlier in the year, there was
very disrespectful spread.
a clip that on TikTok that a lot of people engaged with and were very angry at first when they talked. I think we were all on the Steelers that week. I'm pretty sure. I definitely bet the Steelers in that game. I think they were I don't know, plus 2.5 or something, I want to say. It was in Pittsburgh. I don't know. We were all on the Steelers. They won 18-16, I believe. And Nate laid out the numbers, laid out Lamar Jackson versus the Steelers.
Struggles.
And we all took the Steelers. And despite some Ravens fans in the comments
Yeah.
the Steelers didn't
Hey, but
win.
apparently all those facts are there, but my take was ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
kind of crazy. I'll let Cody open here because I know what Nate's going to say. Cody, Ravens laying 6.5 in Baltimore. Where are you going here?
Yeah, like I said before, I know the Steelers' offense the past couple of weeks, they've looked a bit worse without Pickens. Russ has struggled with the deep ball, obviously. I think he's averaging less than 160 passing yards a game or something. Hasn't been too great without Pickens. And he's not going to be playing again this week. But I still think the Steelers can cover the plus 6.5. It's a divisional game. They always come to play against the Ravens. TJ Watt is going to be active. He's going to be coming after Lamar. And I think Lamar struggles in this game, even though it's at home. So I'll be taking the Steelers.
Obviously on the Steelers, especially with a spread like this. This is ridiculous. This is disrespectful.
I mean, it's kind of gross.
It's ugly, but but Lamar's game is going to be ugly on Saturday. Yeah, again, no Pickens. It's definitely a little worrisome. You need him in there, but regardless, the Steelers defense, they're there. Watt, when he went down, that was a little scary, but he's going to play. It wasn't that serious. Yeah, and for the division, I think the Steelers are going to. I don't really see them catching back-to-back losses when they're one game away from locking the division up against the Ravens. So.
I just pulled up the history. All these games, both teams, it's all under 20 points.
It's always close. Yeah.
The last 6 matchups. I might put a lot of money on the Steelers money line here.
Yeah.
Even though I retired from sports. I don't know. I mean, I feel like this matchup's this matchup at this point is probably in Lamar's head.
Yeah.
He probably sees TJ Watt.
It's a mental thing.
Yeah. He sees TJ Watt in his nightmares, and as would any quarterback. That guy's a psycho.
That's Depoy.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I'm on the Steelers with the team.
These games are always really close. They're always you always usually want to take the underdog, but Nate Dogg, I love the Ravens here, -6.5.
He loves them.
I do, and I again in this matchup, like I said, this divisional AFC North rivalry, you always take the points. You always take. I mean, all those scores. I'm guessing all those scores are pretty low scoring and pretty tight.
Yeah.
But I think Lamar is sick of this Steelers thing. They're at home, got the home cooking going.
It's definitely a spot where he's got to prove himself.
And this number's a little weird. This number's a little weird. I feel like it should be 3.5, 4.5. It's making me like it even more. I think the Ravens might rout him. I know that's not what you want to hear, and I'm sure you'll give it back to you. The Vikings game, Seahawks coming up. But as the week has gone on here, I've liked the Ravens more and more. So I'm going to lay the 6.5 with the Ravens. I think they win by 10 to 14.
Come on, man. You got to back me up. You love Russ.
And it's my boy. Yeah, it's my boy. In the Seahawks uniform. What does that say, Cody? Super Bowl what?
Sick.
Super Bowl what? Champions. Yeah.
It's the only one you'll ever see.
Next up, a game kind of under the radar. I know these teams matched up. It wasn't a super exciting game earlier in the year, but the Eagles, the red-hot Eagles, who you guys all think are going to get the 1 seed, going to Washington to take on the Commanders. Commanders are +3.5 at home. I'll open this one. I'm going to lay the points with the Eagles. I think they're just rolling right now. They've won how many straight? 11, 10, 11, whatever it is. They're cooking. I think the Commanders have kind of taken a step back. They were really fun. Zach had mentioned multiple times about Bo Nix probably being the Rookie of the Year. Jaden Daniels obviously has been amazing, but they could have easily lost that game to the Saints. They kind of absolutely blew it. I don't know. I just think the Commanders are a decent team. I don't think they're a great team. And to be honest, I don't know if they'll hold on to that spot to make the playoffs because they got the Eagles this week, then the Falcons, and then the Cowboys, so who they already lost to. So I'm going to lay the points of the Eagles. I think they win this one in a scrappy game, but I think they pull away late.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden definitely showed some regression, but he started off hot, and that's going to happen as a rookie. I feel like he's going to come down. But, yeah, I like the Eagles here. They've won that many games straight.
Yeah,
I think 11, right?
Yeah.
That's
they broke
crazy.
the franchise record.
Yeah, I mean, they just had a big game with a lot of criticism on them. But what was that, 2 weeks ago when they were saying how, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts are kind of beefing.
And then they immediately torched the Steelers.
And then Jalen Hurts goes into the post-game presser. He's like, is that what you guys want? I mean, the Eagles are rolling right now, so I'm with the squeeve.
Yeah, I'm with them here as well. The Eagles, they're rolling. I don't care if they're on the road. I think they beat the Commanders. And also, you have to remember the fact that Jaden Daniels against teams with winning records isn't that good.
Yep.
And then I really don't think the Eagles. Now the Eagles, they're fully aware. They've been aware that, but they're in the hunt for the 1 seed. Everyone's the same record. They have the easiest schedule. I think they show out and take advantage of the opportunity they have.
Just like Nate said, Daniels is not the best against teams above 500. He's had a rough go about it with them, and the Eagles have a lot to play for here in this spot, so I'm definitely hammering the Eagles here. I love it.
Big game.
If you follow the show at all, if you know us at all, or if you watch the show at all, you know that this game was a long time coming. The Minnesota Vikings and Zach LaPalme going up to take on my Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. A bigger game, obviously, for the Seahawks. I mean, you could argue the Vikings 1 seed chase is obviously huge, but the Vikings are comfortably in the playoffs. They're 12-2. They're having an amazing year. The Seahawks are 8-6, and as we mentioned, they're battling the Rams for the division. And they still have an outside shot at the wild card, but the division is the best path. The Seahawks are +3 at home. Gino, who obviously hurt his knee, he is full participant in practice. He's going to play in all likelihood, as is Kenneth Walker. I'm excited for this game, Zach.
It's going to be a good one,
We're going to watch it together. I think you guys are going to watch it with us, too. We're going to play together, watch the game. The Seahawks, I don't know. I don't know. All year, I've been, talking Seahawks. I have them to win the division at +700. I have them to win the Super Bowl at plus 5,000. Obviously, it's biases involved there, no doubt about it, but I have been very high on this team because Mike Macdonald, I think, has changed a lot already in his first year as coach. Their offense has struggled past several weeks. Geno, I think, is really going to come out. I'm worried about...
Especially when they lost to the Giants.
That was so long ago. The one thing I'm really worried about in this game is the Vikings' exotic pass rushing, and Brian Flores does a lot of different things. And the biggest weakness on the Seattle team, it's been all year, has been the offensive line, which has just struggled and struggled and struggled.
I mean, they have Dallas Turner. Yeah, he wasn't really playing in the beginning of the year, but he's been in there, and he was nasty. And
Brian
on
Flores is
Alabama.
just elite at drawing up these schemes and pressuring the quarterback.
Yeah.
So if Geno can get the ball out early and often, the secondary on the Vikings isn't always so reliable. You can pass the ball.
They'll lose
on the
if they
Vikings.
give up more than like 350 yards. I mean, obviously, probably.
I think this game could get a little high scoring, but Vikings and Seahawks have played some fun matchups. Obviously, the wild card game, Blair Walsh game, that was a classic when we were in like, I don't know,
classic.
7th, 8th grade, or
that was a classic.
ninth grade maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, where obviously Blair Walsh shanked the game.
Wait, you guys watch that together?
No, but we were texting
the whole time, and he just straight shanked the
20-something yarder.
Third 28.
I remember that game.
Third coldest game in NFL history, I believe.
Shanked it left.
What a game that was! Doug Baldwin's crazy catch.
Chip shot.
The snap going over Russell Wilson. It was a great
that was
game.
a crazy. And like, what was it, like -10 or
Yeah,
whatever?
it was brutal.
Imagine
People
being
had their
there,
shirts
it's
off. This game, I'm looking for, they got to establish the run a little bit. And if they open things up, I think JSN, DK, Lockett, I think they're going to have one of their best games of the year. I think the Seahawks are going to win this game outright.
They have to.
They need this game more than the Vikings. They're in Seattle. They have been better on the road this year, the Seahawks, which is obviously weird. They're 5-1 on the road, 3-5 at home. The Seahawks need this game. They will win outright. JSN to have over 100.
What would this line be if it was in Minnesota? That's the real question.
Minnesota minus 6.5 probably. I don't know.
I mean, I think if the receivers for the Seahawks have a big game, it's going to be tough for the Vikings. They're kind of due for a loss. They've been rolling. But, yeah, I still think they can win this game if they allow, like, under 300 yards, 350 yards. I think they can get it done. Their defense hasn't been the best, but their offense is one of the best. Sam Darnold's he's playing amazing right now. He can move. That's what Kirk Cousins couldn't do last year. I think that's what makes them even better this year. They got Aaron Jones, who's just been phenomenal all year, and then the two receivers, who's probably the best receiving duo right now in the league. It's going to be a good game. Go Vikings.
The Vikings.
Yeah, I'm with Zach here.
Yeah.
I think the Vikings are gonna win this game.
Let's go.
You know, doing it. They got it. I do think this game will be a low-scoring affair, though. I think it will be like, maybe like a
17 or something.
Yeah, or like
17
17 to like 7. I think it's gonna be some weird low-scoring game. I know they have the 12. They're going to the 12. Yes, Zach
Going
said
to the
Sam
12.
Darnold is more mobile. I think.
Is he? Than Geno?
He has a hobbled knee.
Dude, he made
That's a crazy take.
MVP play against the Falcons.
Yeah,
like
like
MVP.
Very good pocket winners, dimes.
There you are.
Jordan.
Bro, he had like 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, he went crazy.
Yeah, like
he did.
But I think the Vikings front 7 gets home on Seattle's banked up line with the banked up Geno as the main caveat on this.
Van Ginkel.
I think I'm with the boys too.
Van
Sorry to
Ginkel
do it
pick.
to you, Steve, but I like the Vikings in this spot. I think they win outright in Seattle, so I'm just riding with Zach and Nate here.
Hey,
We'll see though.
Vikings. Steelers.
Van Ginkel.
The Cowboys. Let's go.
You missed
Yo,
me,
hey.
bro.
Van Ginkel, sprinkle. Van Ginkel interception. Sprinkle that.
Van Ginkel interception.
Yeah, he's scrappy.
All right.
All right.
Cover 4 podcast log. Zach is 10-5. Nate is 10-5. Cody's 9-6. I am 6-8-1. All time. Look how bunched up we are all here. I mean, 20 wins, 22-20. Like, that's amazing. We're all
Hoogans.
60+%. Cody leading the way all time. Let's get into this week's locks. Nate has an insane lock, like all-time insanity. Almost more insane than benching Saquon Barkley in the playoffs. I'm going to go Bengals minus 8.5. Never want to lay a number like that as a lock. It's never really sharp to do so, but I'm going to do it because I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson out of UCLA
He's decent.
is not very good at football. I'm sorry. I think the Browns are, cooked. Obviously, Jameis Winston, if he was in this game, I'd stay away from it. But without him, I think the Bengals, obviously fighting for their playoff lives, will rout. I know they've struggled with the Browns, but I think they rout Cleveland in this spot. Minus 8.5, Zach.
I'm going with the Rams here. Jets just coming off a big victory against the Jags. I mean, they had to fight hard. I think I went with this theory earlier in the year. Team coming off feeling like a this is different. But when I think the Panthers lost to the Chiefs, kind of felt like a Super Bowl win for them. Going with that same type of theory. The Jets just played a tough game against the Jags, pulled it out. Devontae Adams had his best game of the year with Aaron Rodgers. So I think they come back down here. The Rams are a solid team. They're going to win the division, and they're going to win this game.
This is insane lock. Night King, go ahead.
The Night King agrees with the ballsiness of this lock. Yeah, my lock is the Jaguars. I'm taking Mac Jones against the Raiders. Is it in Jacksonville? Or is it?
It's in Las Vegas.
Whatever the place is, I'm going with the Jaguars because, like the Raiders, the Raiders can't score.
I was gonna do that.
I think the Raiders can't score right now, and even though Mac Jones, Evan Ingram's out for the year, Mac Jones he's not the best quarterback, but
he's not the worst. He's not the worst.
No. But it's gonna be it's gonna be a close game. I think. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout, but I think the Jaguars put up points in this game, and I don't think the Raiders match them. I think the Jaguars can put up 24 points.
All right, I'm putting money on that. 24 exactly.
The Raiders, I'm not sure they'll put up more than 17. So
24-17.
I'm on Nate Dogg's Steelers, man, because you want to know why?
I'm down.
Because T.J. Watt owns Lamar Jackson, so I think run into it's in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
Yep. They're gonna run into Baltimore, win that game outright. So I like the points, of course, but I love the Steelers this week.
Hey, just remember, over the years, for all these Ravens fans that want to be in the comments who choose to do so, just remember this. Mason Rudolph beat you guys. Kenny Pickett beat you guys. Big Ben beat you guys. And Russell Wilson has beaten you guys.
Why is that line 6.5?
What does that tell you? That means Mike Tomlin owns Mr. Harbaugh.
Yeah.
That's what that tells
and
me.
Lamar Jackson's only win versus the Steelers was 2019 against Doug Hodges in Pittsburgh. And that game went to OT and the Steelers fumbled the ball.
That is kind of crazy.
He was good, Doug Hodges.
All right, little fantasy players of the week here. Last week, Zach had an amazing pick. Amari Cooper.
I'm coming back this week.
Did not
Don't
register
worry about it. Don't worry about it.
It's crazy that the Bills scored 48 points and we took 3 Bills and none of them. I mean, Shakir had a good day, but I mean, come on, none of them went off. And then I said it could bite me in the ass, and I said to bench Josh Jacobs, and it didn't work too well. He had 21 points, so whatever. Brock Bowers was a sharp sit by Nate. Kind of laughed at him at the time, but good solid sit. Fantasy players of the week this week. Zach, you said you have a couple, so let's go.
I do have a couple, and I promise it's going to be better this week. I promise. I'm starting James Conner against the Panthers. He's had 20-plus touches. He's projected 20 fantasy points. I know that doesn't really mean anything, but he's going to have a big week this week. I'm sitting – this is sharp. I'm sitting Derrick Henry, who has – He hasn't been that great. He's going up against TJ Swat and the Steelers, who notoriously these games don't go over the total. The total's what, probably 40.
Yeah, it's 40.
So yeah, he might get in. He might have max 12 points with a touchdown and 40 yards. So that's gonna backfire. But yeah, so.
For my start, I had the risky lock, so let's keep it risky. What's his face, Evan Ingram. No respect to Evan Ingram. He's out for the year. I'm going
with the backup.
No. That's a better one, but I'm going balls with that. I'm going Parker Washington.
Oh, okay.
Start Parker Washington.
All right, I'll be sure to pick him up and start him.
League winner.
Parker Washington.
He's on the waivers.
I think he'll have a big game this week. On the riskier side, once again, I'm going to be benching Josh Jacobs against the Saints.
I did this last week. It didn't work.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I just talked about a bunch of stuff about the Saints, how they're the worst franchise going forward, all that stuff. I'm kind of feeling I don't know, maybe Josh Jacobs has a.
Look at this. That's rookie of the year.
Is that 21-7?
Yeah, no, 21-10.
That's rookie of the year.
For my start, I'm gonna be starting Tank Dell against the Chiefs. I think this is a game where the Chiefs go up early and they're gonna be down for the most part. And C.J. Stroud's trying to get it to Nico. He's going to be locked up by Trent McDuffie, and that leads Tank Dell to just have a couple of big plays. He's been really bad this year. I think he's gone over 15 fantasy points one time. So he's been a disappointment. I think he bounces back in this game. And then for my sit, I'm going to sit Travis Kelce because he has not looked great. I think the past 4 weeks, it seems like toward the end of the season, the last 2 years, they just don't tend to use him. They want to save him for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a guy that's kind of been fading a little bit, but I need him this week in my teams. Chuba Hubbard against the Cardinals defense.
Running back
Which
matchup.
hasn't, facts. Which hasn't, the Cardinals defense hasn't been great, so I think Chuba Hubbard will have a decent day. And I'm actually, Cody, nice little segue there. I'm going to sit Nico Collins. I think, again, he's going to draw a lot of the attention. I see it a little differently than Cody. I think it's actually, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to get off to a hot start, but I think it's just going to be a low-scoring, kind of like gross game early. I think it'll be cold. You know, the Texans will be struggling like they have many games, so I think Nico is not a great fantasy wide receiver 1 or even 2 this week. I'm going to sit Nico Collins. Overview of the week 16, only 3 to go. I am trying to catch Nate in the season standings, and he's trying to catch me in the all-time standings. So Nate had some interesting picks this week. I think he's feeling the heat. You start Thursday Night Football, which is currently on. Broncos leading 21-10, looking good early for me, Zach, and Cody.
Yeah,
Nate lone wolf the Chargers. We're all on the Chiefs except Nate. He's the lone wolf in the Texans plus 3.5. The Ravens and the Steelers. I'm lone wolf in the Ravens, as I often do. Cody has the Steelers as his lock. I'm locking in the Bengals, but Nate is lone wolf in the Cleveland Browns. Panthers and Cardinals. I'm lone wolf in the Panthers. I'm a little surprised about that. Cody has been really critical of the Panthers lately. The Eagles, Commanders, we're all on the Eagles. Falcons, Giants, an interesting game. We didn't really actually touch on it, but Michael Penix is starting. We're split. Zach and Nate on the Giants. Cody and I on the Falcons. Cody's lone wolf in the Titans. I get off them finally. They have the worst ATS record this year. I'm laying the 3.5 with the Colts. I'm lone wolf in the Bears in one of the grossest matchups of the week, plus 6.5. Not even a full touchdown, but I'm taking them. The rest of the boys have the Lions. Zach is locking in the Rams at -3. I am lone wolfing the New York Jets, who would be really clutch for the Seahawks to come through in New Jersey. The Seahawks, Vikings, I'm lone wolf in the Seahawks. These guys, the Vikings, they don't know what's coming. The Seahawks are going to come back with vengeance in Seattle. Patriots, Bills, tied for the biggest spread of the week, 14.5. Nate is the only one willing to lay that huge number. The rest of us are on the Patriots to keep it somewhat close. 49ers, Dolphins, a matchup that looked really good early in the season. Now not so much. We're split. Zach and Cody on the Dolphins. Nate and I have the Niners catching 1.5. Nate with one of the, it could be a great lock, but I don't get it. The Jaguars plus 1.5 as his lock. Cody and I are on the Raiders while Zach joins him with the Jags. We're all on the Buccaneers, and Nate is lone wolfing the New Orleans Saints, who he has on this entire episode, plus 14.5 at Lambeau with Spencer Rattler. All right, good week ahead. We have 3 to go, and then playoffs. We'll definitely do a playoff show at some point. I don't know. Final thoughts. It's a big week.
Go Skull.
Let's go,
Skull
baby.
Nation.
Good luck in your fantasy semifinals.
Facts.
Best of luck to everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Make those correct start sits.
Yeah, don't bench Saquon Barkley.
Do not
Guys,
bench
yeah,
Saquon
don't do
Barkley.
that.
All right, and we will see you a week from now.
Don't do that.
Penn State.